Hello fellow YouTubers, today's Monday, it's August 3, Boy Scout salute. I was a Boy Scout too, and a cub, long time ago. And as you can probably hear, it is raining. Yes, it's been raining on and off most of the day. It began raining last night and we had 24 mil in the gauge, so and it's forecast to continue to rain for the rest of the week. Unfortunately, it's not raining over the Great Dividing Range where it's really, in some areas it is, they're getting some showers, but most drought areas aren't getting the rain, unfortunately, but that may come sooner rather than later, hopefully. Well, I've been doing a little bit of changing things around, only a few things in the shed, pulling some things out that I'm going to throw out. But anyhow, I'm going to read you out of Simple Things because that's all I can really do. No, that's not the one I'm doing. Where did it go? I was going to go on about the, you know, George. I was thinking about something while you were gone, but I'll do that another time. I will read it up. It's starting to get awkward. Should pull it apart. What the hey? In any given year, there are always firsts. And so it was in 1958. My sister commenced school. I celebrated my double-digit 10th birthday on the 4th of March. Empire Day was renamed a British Commonwealth Day. And on Saturday night of the June long weekend, my family and I experienced our first bonfire cracker night. Empire Day took place in the mother country on May 24th. It's Queen Victoria's birthday. But it wasn't an official event in England until 1916. It was an opportunity for millions of children throughout the British Empire to stand tall and salute the Union Jack. Yes, sir. To sing songs and listen to patriotic speeches of a time long past, of heroes, elder statesmen, and inspirational tales of daring do from across the empire. On the other side of the world, all school children celebrated that day too. I can vividly remember the entire population of Stanmore Primary being ushered from class to stand en masse for a special assembly on or near that date. To listen to, but not hearing the principal, local dignitaries, a few senior teachers, go on and on and on about God, Queen and country. This, that and other things, we didn't care one way or the other. Only after all was said and done to sing God Save the Queen. As all the teachers stood to the front of their bored, shitless pupils, waving their arms like conductors, mouthing the words, grimacing every time the resounding chorus of tiny voices faltered with words like gracious, victorious and glorious. Oh well, simple things, eh what? This is getting heavy. When we went home after school that day, we didn't know that the night of that day in England was celebrated with bonfires and pyrotechnics displays. Maybe if we had done the same, we might have had a clear understanding as to the significance of that particular day. But no, it would be near on 3 weeks later on the Labour Day long weekend. And by that time, well, hey, it was just the one night of the year. A special night to be sure. But one where people all over this great nation of ours let off fireworks. And that was it. Mum and Dad would take us out to the backyard on a cold winter's night wearing our pyjamas, dressing gowns and slippers, and mesmerise us with colourful cornucopia of sparks, flames, bangs and smoke. The sputtering Roman candles, the whizzing Catherine wheels Dad would nail to the back fence, the skyrockets launched from an empty milk bottle, the noisy string of exploding tom thumbs that would always make us flinch and set our hearts racing. The sparklers. There never seemed to be enough sparklers. The one thing you could hold and scribe fleeting red circles or other shapes in the night sky. Or write your name. Even though the first letter would dissipate before you started the second, you could still see it if you closed your eyes. See your entire name if you could write fast enough. Magical things. Simple things. But this year it would be different. This year we would build a bonfire on the wide grassy open that fronted Jones's Park, just across the road. And it all came about because of one man. It has often been said that necessity is the mother of invention. It would also be true to say that necessity can prompt an individual to come up with an idea that is not only beneficial to them, but to others too, even though the others have no idea that the idea they are about to be proffered has really nothing to do with the idea at all. It just seems that way. As is often the case in suburbia, we tend to develop friendships with immediate neighbours. Those on either side, the Suttons and the Jamesons, one behind, the Flanders, and as fate would dictate, the Quartermans, particularly Mr. Quarterman. He lived 2 houses behind ours in Ree Street, and was one of those individuals everyone in the immediate vicinity was familiar with, but didn't actually know, which probably suited all concerned just fine. It wasn't that he was an objectionable person. In fact, he was very friendly. Too friendly. Almost patronisingly and overbearingly so. Even though he didn't know that himself, for it was just his way. Some would say he had a weak mind. Others would say he was a simpleton. But to all us kids, he was just a little wacky. He was a big man, a powerful looking man, an easygoing, simple man who wouldn't harm a fly, but had, unfortunately, a shrill voice verbosity that could set your nerves on edge, like someone scraping their nails down a blackboard. I remember him vividly. He was something of an enigma too, because to me, and other kids too I'm sure, he was always around and about when other dads were at work. Yet he was able to maintain his wife and 4 children, the house, and indulge in his obvious passion for his horse. On the afternoon of the day he came up with the idea for the bonfire, Richard, Hadley, Peter Sutton and I were sitting on our front fence just passing the time away. And this was par for the course for Mr. Quarterman. We weren't talking about anything in particular. But it's always under circumstances like those that Mr. Quarterman always seemed to make an appearance, as if by magic. Catching people unawares as he meandered along the footpath leading his equine companion to or from the field that ran from the southern boundary fence of the Suttons' house block to Margaret Street, all the way west to Chester and Ree Street. "Hello, boys," he said in his falsetto voice, the horse nodding its head as he came to an abrupt stop, as if to say hello too. "Hello, Mr. Quarterman," we each replied. "You know," he said, "it won't be long before cracker night." "Yes, sir," Peter replied. "Going to have a bonfire?" "A bonfire," I said. "Gee, What a good idea. Well, if you want to, I've got a lot of stuff in my backyard you all can have. If you want to, that is. The seed was planted and, unbeknown to us, Mr. Quarterman had just arranged to have his backyard tidied up. It was true. He may not have had all the lights on upstairs, but he certainly wasn't stupid. On the first visit, the first of many to Mr. Quarterman's backyard over the best part of the following week, I was amazed at the amount of rubbish one family, or maybe it was just one man, had accumulated over such a short period of time. They had occupied that house for less than a year, yet stacked to the height of and running the last half of the east boundary fence all the way to the back corner, 2 strides wide, were piles of cardboard boxes, newspapers, old tyres, weathered fence palings, broken bricks and roof tiles, 4 lumpy seen much better days single bed mattresses, ripped and faded lengths of carpet, sawn off tree branches, empty paint cans. You all can have anything that burns, he said, except for anything to the right of the chicken coop. It was a bit different, his voice. That's the best I can do at the moment. There was an old refrigerator, sheets of corrugated iron and fibro, scraps of timber, rolls of old wire netting, old doors and sash-type windows, half a dozen 44-gallon drums, dozens of 5-gallon drums, lengths of galvanised iron pipe, even a stainless steel kitchen sink. Yet everything was in an ordered state, a place for everything, and everything in its place. But then it had to be. If not for the safety of the children, then for that of the horse. He was housed in a rectangular log post and rail enclosure that abutted a section of the west side fence, then jutted out to occupy the front quarter of the backyard. Oh dear. He wasn't always penned up. It was plainly obvious that he also spent some time tied up to the upright post of the hill's hoist, and the field too, for the ground within a 5-yard radius was nothing more than bare earth covered with remnants of loosened hay. Why he kept the horse in the first place was something only known to him. After all, it wasn't the sort of animal 99.99% of people would want to keep in their backyard, unless they had acreage. And what was it with all the stuff? Did he also suffer from some sort of compulsive disorder? An overwhelming urge to load up his old Dodge utility with things he saw on the side of the road or at the local tip, and bring them home because he thought they might come in handy one day, only to realise sometime later that some, if not most of it, was just plain useless and wouldn't. To each their own, I suppose. Yet with all we gathered from the yard, we quickly realised we didn't have much in the way of anything with substance. The newspapers, cardboard boxes, the 4 mattresses and lengths of carpet would get the fire going quick smart. But the tree branches and fence palings, which we had thought initially would be more than enough to keep the fire going, really didn't amount to diddly squat. Not as far as our grand plan was concerned, anyhow. It would be cold on that night. They wanted something of a towering inferno, the heat of which you could feel 10 yards distant. Not an oversized campfire to toast marshmallows over. Trouble was, except for a few dead branches we scavenged from under the camphor laurel tree in Crimea Street, and from the small stand of trees in the field across Burnett Street from the substation, there wasn't a goddamn tree anywhere else in the vast expanse of vacant land in the area. We scoured the creek. We called it a creek, but it really wasn't more than a wide open earth drain carrying runoff water to the underground stormwater system. It snaked its way from its beginning near the corner of Rees and Chester Streets and ran the entire length of the field Mr. Quarterman grazed his horse, ending at the mouth of the culvert 10 yards off and roughly in line with Sutton's front fence. From that point on to about 100 yards west was nothing but a gaping chasm of steep eroded banks, loose masses of stones, rocks and silt, and a continuous but slow flow of clear shallow water, and the dumping ground for a whole host of things that could only come from one source. The detritus from the building of the houses, none of which we could use. But there I searched only because the remaining length of the creek was overgrown with a congested mass of tall reeds. So dense in fact that it was only those that made it possible to separate the course of the creek from the lay of the land. Our hopes were dashed. But as it turned out, we needed not to have concerned ourselves. Needed not worry about something we had no control over, even though we were disappointed and had resigned ourselves to the fact that we had to make do with what we had, and that was it. Tough titty. We still racked our brain trying to come up with ideas as we went about, albeit reluctantly, building the fire. But nothing came, always drawing a blank, and tough titty to that too. And something incredible happened. Something that was beyond our wildest imaginations. For it seemed the sight of a bunch of kids building a bonfire was a catalyst, a golden opportunity for neighbours, near and far, to drop off things that were clogging up their backyards too. And we were only too happy to take it all. Ooh, elbow sore. I think I'll leave it at that. Oh, good grief. I hope you enjoyed that. I really did. But, I think I tweaked my funny bone. There's nothing funny about it, is it? Why do they call it the funny bone? Because it's not funny. It is not funny at all. Anyhow, it's just very light rain at the moment. But there'll be plenty around. So I want to thank you for watching. And until next time, which will be tomorrow, and I'll take off from where I left off there. Bye for now. I got a cup of tea here, you know. It's not bad, it's okay.